Hello, in this video I will show you how to develop an application for Atlassian Data Center. This application will be working with the database table in the backend. This application will be able to create a row in this table, to edit the row, to delete the row, and to query rows. That's it. Let's go. I will show you how to do that. Okay, here is the application. Right now the application does not contain any rows. We can create a row. Over here, for example, let's call it to-do one. This is to-do one, and complete is true. Let's create it, and now we can see the row. Also, we can, for example, edit the row. Let's change it like this, and now you see the changes are applied. And also, we can delete a row. That's it. That's how it works. Okay, let's look into the code and let's see what is the code for it. Okay, in this application we've got backend and frontend. Let's start from the frontend. I like to work with JavaScript in Visual Studio. That's why I always, when I develop something for data center, I develop frontend in Visual Code and backend in IDEA. Okay, so what's with the frontend? First of all, this is our entry point. I will not tell you much about the structure of the application, what kind of packages I use, how I build it, webpacks and so on. You can see all of this in my previous videos. The only thing I changed here in the package.json, I'm using React 16, because in my previous video I used React 18. Right now I'm using React 16 because Atlassian forms work with React 16 and it doesn't want to compile with React 18. That's why I changed to React 16. Also, I added types for React DOM and React, just everything to work. Okay, so these are the changes to the application, like for the structure of the application. Okay, now I've got, here is my entry point, app, and it calls a function called table data viewer. This function contains a dynamic table. This is the dynamic table, and actually that's ID, name, description, it's all the dynamic table. Also, it contains the add to do view. The add to do view is the one which has add to do button. And it contains add to do modal. It's the one when we call for our rows when we want to edit it. Okay, let's start with add to do view. What's inside it? First of all, we've got here again the button itself, this one, and we've got add to do modal. This is our modal which handles the input for the new row in the database. How it looks like. First of all, it accepts is open flag. So when is open is true, then we need to show this form. That's how the model in Atlaskit works. So when you have a model over here, then if the flag is open, then if it should be open, you just need to set this flag open, and then you will see the form. If you want to close it, you need to set this is open flag to false, and it will be closed. Also, I pass here on close function close modal. So when, for example, we push the cancel button over here, or just click out of the dialog window, this close function works. Here it is, closed modal. What's inside the closed model? I pass this closed model from the main component, the parent component. Let's see. Here is this function, close model. What's going on here? I said that the model should be closed because I want to close it. And then if I want to reload data, then I will reload table data. That's it. So if I push the cancel button, I set reload as false. I don't want to reload. But if I created a row, then I want to reload the main table. Okay, also I passed the context path. I explained the importance of this context path in my previous video. You can hear it there. And also I pass there the to-do item. When I create a new item, to-do item is undefined. But if I want to edit an item, I pass there the item which I want to edit. Because this window, add to-do modal, it works both for adding and editing items. Okay, so also I've got here, so basically here I've got the model, then I've got the form. I've got my text fields. As you can see here, if I open it, I've got ID, name, description, and complete. These are the fields in the database, the same ones. And here I created different components: ID field, name field, description field, and complete field. That's how I usually do it. I don't want to write, because for example, if you go ID field, there will be this code. If you are going to open, for example, complete field, there will be this code. And if you put all this code into the same file, then your file will be very large, and it's not very convenient to work with such a file. That's why I always create different components for each field, and then I already inserted here. Also, when I use name field and description field, actually, if you have a look at it, it calls generic text field. Because these fields are the same. The only difference is the name of the field and the label. That's why I decided to create a generic text field where I pass value, element ID, and element label. And then when I want, for example, and actually I could use this generic field right here in the model, right? I could also write here generic field, then pass value like element ID, element name, but it's not nice. For me, I want it to be more like explicit, that it's a name field, it's a description field. Because if I would use generic text field, then you would guess that it's a name field, not by the name of the component, but by the element ID and element name. And that's what I didn't want to do. That's why I created a separate component for name field and description field. But it calls generic text field under it. And if we have a look at the generic text field, I've got child props, because every child, for example, name field and description field, they use this interface. They've got to accept value. And also, and then other props which are needed by this component, it extends from child props, because I also need here the value, and this extends added there. And I've got element ID and element label. That's how I did it. That's how I structure it. Of course, I could put everything into the same file, but again, I don't like to do it because the code starts to become unreadable. The more text you've got in a file, the more complicated to understand what's going on in this file. Okay, so, and then when I push, again, as I said, the form is the same for the create and for the edit. That's why if to do is undefined, then it's a create. If to do is defined, it's edit. And when I push submit button over here called edit or create, then on submit function is called. What I'm doing here, I construct first new to do, because right now the data for the table and the data in the form are different, because the data in the form complete is a string. It's a radio button and it's a string, but in the table it's a boolean. That's why my form data has a bit different format, and that's why I construct a new item for new to do. I say if to do is defined, then I take the ID. If to do is undefined, I just set to -1, and I know that it's like a new item. Then I set the name, the description, and complete I just converted. If data complete equals to true, then it's true, boolean true, otherwise false. And then I define, if to do is undefined, I add to do to DB. If the other way, then I have to edit to do in DB. And that's the add to do in DB. I am executing post with this REST. That's it. If it's edit, I execute edit, like it's put. That's it. That's the front end for adding and editing. The next one, let's have a look at our data viewer. Actually, in real application, I also put head. in a different file, because it's always the same and it just makes like things more complicated. Another thing which I would also do, I would put get table rows also in a different file, because it also this get table rows also usually takes lots of space, and it's not convenient to have it in the same file. But right now, for the sake of simplicity, I put inside one file, but in real application I would move it to other files. Okay, so what's happening here with this table? Right now we're talking about, let me create an item. Right now we're talking about this table. So first I define the header. So we've got columns ID, name, description, complete, and columns for buttons. And the next one, I defined the rows. I take the rows from the database. Reload table data does it. So I'm getting all data from the database from this method, get all to-dos. This method actually executes get on this REST endpoint. It returns data, and that's our actually all the data. Okay, so we take this data in the use effect. Here it is. I took the data from use effect, get all to-dos, and then I set it in my state over here. And then when I want to get all the rows, I say rows get table rows, and then I take my to-do and start to construct the necessary model for the table, like here. So cells, I'm defining it, and then I also define the buttons, edit button and delete button. And when on click event, if I want to edit the button, then I call my edit function with to-do item in it, and if I want to delete, I pass to-do ID. That's it, and these are the items, edit to do. So when I want to edit, I open the dialog for editing. I say that set selected to do as to do, and then I open my dialog for editing the item. When I'm doing delete, then I just delete everything from to do table in the database by ID and reload the table. So that's it, that's the front end, how it works. Let's go to the backend. And here is the backend. Here I define the to-do table. I've got ID, it's auto increment, that's why I don't need to handle it myself. It will increase, it's like it starts with 1 and will be increasing this number when you add something to the database. These are the methods: add, edit, delete, all, and also I have not like filter. It's like I was asked if this not like filter works, and it worked for me. That's why I made an example, but it's not needed for this application. It's more like an answer to a question which I had. And here is the definition. So when we add something, first we create a new to-do, then we said name, description, complete and save it. When we want to get something, that's how we get it. When we want to get everything, when we edit something, first we get the to-do by ID, we get the row, the reference to this row, and then we start to change it and then save. When we want to delete something, we first get by ID this row and then we delete it. That's it. And then the next one, that's not like filter, it's actually when I wanted to show how to select something by condition not like. It's actually also very easy. So you say find to do class, and then you create a query description not like, and then your string which you want like to choose when description doesn't contain the string. Okay, and now let's see at our REST. That's our REST. That's get to do's. That's where I use the filter, but it's not important for our application. That's why I commented it. It's where I use not like filter. And then so what we are doing, we get all items, convert it into the test resource model. Here it is. So that's to do REST resource model. I've got here ID, name, description, complete. So basically it repeats the structure of a row in the to-do table. And then I return this list. When I want to create, I define it as post, and then I use to do service add. We already had a look at it, and then I create a report and return like a word edit. If I want to edit, I use put, and then I also do the same, like edit, and then I pass all the fields for the row which I want to edit. And when I want delete, I have the pass here, so that when you use delete over here, right? When we use delete, here you see I pass here the ID of the row which I want to delete. Okay. And that's, I define this ID as path, I take the ID and then I delete it. So that's for the application, that's how it works. The only thing which I want to say about it, the first one, I don't check for any permissions here. That's why if, like, for example, only certain users can delete, edit or add button, then you need to add here certain permissions. Because first of all, you need to add it to the front end, so that users would not be able to use it, but never rely on the front end. Also always add the same checks to the backend. Otherwise, like, your application will be like easily broken with someone. And if you, for example, want later your application to add more labels in Atlassian Marketplace, you will have to go through bug bounty program. And people there are very keen to find such bugs when you check something in the front end, but you don't check in the back end, and then it will be elevated permission problem, and you will have to pay money for each bug. Okay, that's all. You can find the code in the repository. I will put a link in the description for this video. Have a good day. Bye bye.